Hello and welcome to my weekly video blog, and today I'm going to talk about how to sleep better in the perimenopause and menopause. If you like my tips and advice, then please subscribe and remember to hit the bell icon so you can be notified of all my new videos. Sleep issues are so common in the perimenopause and menopause, probably number 3 on our top 10 list of symptoms. And so many of you contact me just desperate to find some ways in order to help yourself to sleep better. So today I'm going to talk about things that can disrupt our sleep and what you can do to help yourself. So we know for starters that if you do not sleep well, here we're talking even just a few poor nights sleep can have a big impact on our daily life and our daily health. So you imagine if you're having weeks or months of disrupted or you're just not getting enough sleep. So we know that poor sleep can affect your immune function. So you can end up becoming more vulnerable to all the bugs and things that are going around. You can just end up feeling generally unwell. It can affect our mood. So if you don't sleep well, you're going to be much more irritable the next day. Anger is a big thing too. Lack of patience. So all these emotional issues, if you like, it can be a big problem. It can just be fatigue. You know, if you don't sleep well just for one night, you're going to end up being really tired the next day. So again, night after night of poor sleep is going to have an accumulative effect on your energy levels ongoing. And we also know too that poor sleep can disrupt our hormones that work on controlling our weight. And you know, there's so much research out there now looking at weight and poor sleep. So the main reason why this happens is that as our estrogen starts to fall, estrogen, when we have enough of it, it helps us to fall asleep quickly, and it helps to keep us in a nice, deep, steady sleep. And if we're in a good, steady sleep, both our mind and our body is restored and refreshed the next day. So if your estrogen is starting to tail off, you're going to find it much harder to fall asleep to start with. And also you're going to be in a much shallower sleep. So all sorts of things can wake you up, like flushes and sweats and noise from outside. Even something like maybe your partner moving about in the bed can wake you up. So you're going to get a much more disrupted night's sleep. So what you eat and drink can have a huge impact on how you sleep as well. And, you know, I very often talk about what happens to our blood sugar control in the perimenopause and menopause. So again, your blood sugars can dip during the night really quickly. That can trigger things like flushes and sweats. It can trigger palpitations as well. And when you get into that flight or fight problem in the middle of the night, because you wake up suddenly, you're not aware that you're actually hungry. So you're trying to get back to sleep and your blood sugars are getting lower and lower. And that makes it harder and harder to fall off to sleep as well. It can be just night sweats generally. If you're getting these on a regular basis, 2 or 3 times every night, waking you up. If you're getting really wet, you're going to have to get up. You're going to have to get changed, and that getting up, putting the light on, is going to rev your whole system up, and you're going to find it so hard to get back to sleep again. We know too that the liver plays a big part in sleep. So if you're waking up regularly between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m., that could be your liver time. And what the liver does at that particular point in the 24 hours, that's when your liver's working really hard. So that energy, if you like, that's going on with liver function, if you're not sleeping deeply, can wake you up as well. It can also be your bladder. You know, if you're Having to get up again 2 or 3 times a night to go to the toilet, that's going to wake you up. If you've got to put the light on, that revs your brain up again. And again, you're not going to get back off to sleep. And one of the interesting things with getting up in the middle of the night with the bladder, very often it's to do with what's called an irritated bladder. So you get up, have to go to the toilet, you only pass a little bit of urine, you go back to bed, half an hour later you're wanting to go to the toilet again. So this can really cause huge disruption to your sleep. It can be anxiety and stress, and who's not stressed and anxious at this moment in time? So if you're already keyed up or worried or anxious about something, your mind's going 20 to the dozen just as you're trying to get to sleep. So you can't get to sleep. Your anxiety, whatever you're worried about, isn't being resolved. Very often you can end up dreaming about it, which is going to cause disrupted sleep as well. And you then end up waking up the next morning in a state of anxiety, and that's going to have a huge impact on your whole day and your symptoms as well. So there's a whole big raft of issues that can all play a big part in disrupting our sleep. So what do you want to do to help yourself? So there can be a lot of different things that can help. One of the things you can look at is our lovely new sleep remedy called Sleep Well. This contains lemon balm, and lemon balm is known to help maintain a good night's sleep. It also contains magnesium, and those of you who've been watching for a long time, you know how much store I put in magnesium for being helpful for so many different things. It also contains lettuce and L-tryptophan. It's in a granule form, so the great thing about this is you don't need to dilute it. It's not a pill that you have to take. Maybe an hour before going to bed, you just put it straight onto the tongue and let it dissolve. The other things that you can look at, if you're getting the night sweats, then you can look at our menopause tablets, which are recommended to help with night sweats. Have a good sleep hygiene routine. It's amazing, how many of you are on your phones, on your computers, you're watching the TV right up until the time that you go to bed. That blue light, especially from your devices, is going to rev the brain up, and you're going to find it much more difficult to go into sleep. So try and have a quiet hour just before going to bed. You can look at your diet. Again, really important. Caffeine, high salt and sugar foods, fizzy drinks, alcohol. All of these in the evening are going to disrupt your sleep. And I had one lady, all she did was stop her cup of coffee in the evening, and her night sweat stopped within a week, and she said she was sleeping so much better. That's one simple thing to do. So look at what you're eating and drinking in the evening, and maybe go for calming drinks. I've talked about Tulsi before, which is a lovely sleep drink that you can have, and don't have sort of snacks of crisps and things before you go to bed. Try and have a healthy snack, which is really important. Healthy snack, maybe sort of oat cake and nut butter, or your Greek yogurt and some berries or nuts and seeds. They will help to stabilize your blood sugars, and that can help you to stay asleep for longer as well. Remember the water. Dehydration during the day and in the evening, or if you're drinking things like tea and coffee and alcohol, these will really irritate your bladder, and that can cause you to get up 2 or 3 times during the night. Loads of water during the day, and have a shot glass of warm water just before you get into bed. This is going to keep you hydrated, but it's not going to put a lot of pressure on your bladder. The reason I recommend warm water is that if you take a really cold drink just before you go to bed, it can disrupt or upset your digestion. So nice little glass of warm water can make a huge amount of difference. Relax. Try and do some deep breathing when you're in bed. If you find that it's the falling asleep that's an issue, just do some deep breathing before you fall asleep. And the other thing which a lot of you tell me really helps, if you're anxious and worried, write everything down before you go to bed. Get it out of your system before you go to bed, you may find that you sleep better and you're not going to wake up in that state of anxiety as well. So I hope you found this one helpful. It's such a huge issue, and you know, a good night's sleep is worth its weight in gold. If any of you have any other really good tips that have worked well for you, you know how much I love to read your stories and tips, and please share them to help others as well. And I'll see you next week.